Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. I seek refuge in Allah from shaitan, the wretched one. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the compassionate, the most merciful. وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم. Surah An-Nur, ayat number 55. Allah has promised those of you who have believed and who do good deeds that He will certainly make them His khulafa and successors in the land as He made those before them, and will certainly establish for them their religion which He has chosen for them, and will certainly give them peace in place of fear in which they were before, provided that they worship Me, ascribing no partner to Me, and those who are ungrateful after that, then they are the transgressors. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, and establish salat and pay zakat, and obey the messenger so that you may be favored with mercy. لا تحسبن الذين كفروا معجزين في الأرض. Never think that the disbelievers are able to frustrate Allah's plan on the earth. ومأواهم النار ولبئس المصير. Their abode is the fire, indeed it is an evil terminus. Last week we talked about the promise made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to those who believe and work righteous deeds, that Allah will give them three things. One, He will give them the khilafat and the imarat and hukumat and the leadership and rule and domain over the land, just as He gave to the people of Musa alayhi salam, Banu Israel, during their era. And two, Allah will establish their deen for them. And Alhamdulillah, Deen Islam was set. Many religions came and went, and many of them have perished to such a state that even their name does not remain. But Islam, in spite of all the trials and tribulations and problems it's gone through, it's still surviving, and it will survive till the Day of Judgment. So Allah has established the Deen. And third is, وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. Allah will give them peace in place of the fear which they have been suffering for quite some time, for a long time. Regarding this, many hadith. One hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى زَوَى لِيَ الْأَرْضَ فَرَأَيْتُ مَشَارِقَهَا وَمَغَارِبَهَا وَيَبْلُغُ مُلْكُ أُمَّتِي مَا زُبِيَ لِي مِنْهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shrink the earth for me, and I saw the east and the west, and the kingdom of my ummah will reach all those areas which were shorter and broad before me. Meaning, just like we see a world map, a huge globe. So Rasul Pak sallallahu alayhi wasallam was shown the earth in his dream, and he was told in the dream that your kingdom, your mulk and the hukumat of your ummah will reach so and so far distances. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave these glad tidings at the time of Khandaq as well, when during the battle of trenches, when the mushrikeen are on the other side of are about to approach and the trenches are being dug. So there came a huge rock which was unbreakable, and Sahabas were tired and they could not break it. They came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, Ya Rasulullah, we have an obstacle in front of us and we are helpless. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, take me there. He goes and he takes the pickaxe, and then he takes it and strikes it, and he strikes it with such force that the rock is torn into pieces. And when the metal hits the rock, some sparks come out. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam remarks that within these sparks that came out, I saw the mansions and the palaces of Kisra, son of Hurmuz. Second time, when he hit and sparks came out and another side of the rock was broken, and he says, I saw in here the Madain of Sham, over which Qaisar and Caesar used to rule. And the third time the rock was broken into pieces like sand, grains of sand. And Alhamdulillah, it was, they were able to remove everything from there and dig the trench. And at the third instance, he mentioned the mahallat and the palaces mentioned in Yemen, that the Yemen will also. So from east, west, south, all that area was shown to him at that time. The hypocrites, they made fun of him at that time. They said that over here the Makkan mushrikeen are coming and they are struggling to protect Medina Munawwara themselves, and they are dreaming of Kisra and Qaisar and their kingdom and their palaces, and they made fun of the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's kingdom reached there, his words were true. He would not speak on his own accord. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He spoke from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is where everything reached. Once Adi ibn Hatim, who was the son of the great generous person Hatim Tahi, whose generosity is famous among the Arabs, his son Adi ibn Hatim, he embraced Islam. He was a Christian. And when the forces of the Muslim army reached their area, he fled. And he fled in such a state that he forgot his own sister and he left her behind. And he just fled for his life. It was like Qiyamah. And everybody was running for their life. And that area was conquered. And his sister was also brought before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some have mentioned that she had no khimar, no cloth to cover her head, and she was among the captives. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw that, why is this lady without any headgear, head covering? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave her his own chadar to cover her head with. And when she saw the attitude of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba, and she immediately believed that this is a true religion. This is nothing false. And she embraced Islam. And then she took some amnesty for her brother, and she traveled and she went and met him. First she scolded him that, what type of brother are you? You never even thought about me, you just ran for your life, you left me there. And then when he said, okay, calm down, then she presented Islam to him and advised him that you are a very intellectual, understanding person. You are a leader of your community. You should come and see Muhammad. I have brought amnesty for you, protection. He won't harm you. If you like what he says, accept it. If you don't like it, then you are free. You are at liberty to come back and go wherever you want again. So he said, okay. So he traveled. When he came to Medina Munawwara, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, Ya Adi, aslim taslam, yu'tika Allahu ajraka marratayn. O Adi, become Muslim, submit yourself to the will of Allah, and you will stay in peace and security and salamati, and Allah will give you your reward in two folds. Meaning, you are a leader and you are a Christian. You used to believe in a true kitab beforehand. So now when you believe in the true prophet, Allah will give you multiply your reward for your belief in Jesus and for your belief in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa alaihi salam. So Adi ibn Hatim embraced Islam, and then once he was sitting with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's company, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, he was sitting, someone came and complained about something, that we have been persecuted or something. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked towards Adi and he said, Ya Adi, hal ra'ayta al-Hira? Have you seen Hira? And he replied, I haven't seen Hira, the city Hira, but I have heard about it, that it's a big city and it's a big area. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, Wallahi la yutimmanna Allahu hadha al-amra hatta tarhala al-dha'iratu min San'a ila Hadramut la takhafu illa Allah. That Wallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will establish and complete this religion which Allah has sent. And peace will prevail to such an extent that a lady will travel on her own from Sana'a to Makkah Mukarramah, and throughout the whole way she will fear none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Adi ibn Hatim says, I thought to myself in my mind, where will the bandits and the robbers of Tai and all those areas be? They don't let any caravan pass by in peace. They are highway robbers, bandits, and how will she travel alone without a caravan? So I said, okay, Rasulullah, if you are saying it will happen. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went on to say that وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَتُفْتَحَنَّ كُنُوزُ كِسْرَى. وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, the treasures of Kisra will be conquered and they will fall into the hands of Muslims. So Adi said, I asked, Kisra ibn Hurmuz? Kisra son of Hurmuz? And he replied, yes, Kisra son of Hurmuz. And Adi says, I was amazed. And then he says that there came a time when I was part of that army which conquered the treasures of Kisra. And Kisra was of such a might and power that he ruled nearly 2/3 of the earth. The Roman Empire was nothing compared to the Persian Empire. The Persian dynasty had been ruling for over 2,000 years. And it was not easy to tackle that Persians. They were warriors, they were fighters. But the Sahaba Rizwanullahi Majma'in, with their yaqeen and iman and belief, they just proceeded and they conquered all that area. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to Surah ibn Malik that Kisra's son of Hurmuz, his treasures will be conquered and they will fall into the hands of Muslims, and the bracelets which Kisra used to wear, they will be put on your hands. And when, during the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, let's say maybe 15 years after the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when that area was conquered and the treasures were sent to Medina Munawwara. Now the rule is that when the Mujahideen conquer an area and the treasures and war booty comes, then 4/5 are for the Muslim army, and 1/5 it will be divided into 5 parts, and the 1/5 part will be sent to Baytul Mal, wherever is the Darul Khilafah. So at that time Darul Khilafah was in Medina Munawwara, so 1/5 was sent to Medina Munawwara. And when it was brought, it was so much treasure that beyond imagination. That rug on which used to be spread out in front of the throne of Kisra, it was so expensive that it was made of special material, and it had jewels and pearls and gold and silver inside it. That is why the Iranian rugs are very famous even to this date as well. So when it was brought, it was put before Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. Hazrat Umar said, what do you use this to us? He said, bring some scissors, cut it into pieces. And he had it cut into pieces, and he gave one piece to this Sahabi, one to that, one to that. The one Sahabi says, that piece that came in my share, I sold it for 80,000 dirhams. Imagine how expensive it must have been. But Sahabas had no value for the treasures of this dunya. And when it was brought, even Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was amazed. And he was amazed at the amanat-dari and trustworthiness and truthfulness of that army which conquered that area. That they could have hidden some war booty for themselves, but they did not steal, they did not rob, they did not hide anything. They did not loot anything. They gave everything. What normally happens is after an expedition is completed and an area is conquered, then everything settles down. Then the Amir makes an announcement that tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, Sunday morning, in this so and so area, whosoever has taken any mali ghanimat should bring it and gather it over here. Everything is brought, everything is gathered. Whosoever took what is brought over here, and then the Amir of that army, he distributes it among the Mujahideen. So they could have hid many things, but they hid not even a single penny. They gave everything that they had taken, and 1/5 was taken out, and it was sent to Medina Munawwara. So when it was brought over there, Surah ibn Malik was there as well. And Umar ibn Khattab called him. That he said, here are the 2 bracelets which Kisra used to wear. Where is Suraka? Call him over here. Suraka, come here. What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to you? And he repeated the words. He said, bring your hands. even though gold is not allowed for men, but put these on for a moment to confirm the words of the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That what he said is true, and he put them on for a moment and then took them off. So this is how Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam's words came to be true, and Allah's promise over here was fulfilled, that لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ or وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. Such powerful words Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using over here. In one riwayat narrated by Musnad Ahmad, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, بَشِّرْ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةَ بِالسَّنَى وَالرَّفْعَ والدين والنصر والتمكين في الأرض فمن عمل منهم عمل الآخرة للدنيا لم يكن له في الآخرة نصيب. Give good news and glad tidings to this ummah of high ranks and sana and raf'at and bulandi and unchai and of deen and of assistance and special help from Allah and establishment in the land. Spread this good news that this ummah will be established throughout the globe, throughout the world. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, one thing you should remember, you should always be sincere. Whatever you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you do any deed, any action which is connected to the akhirah, but you do it with the intention of gaining some worldly gains, then you will get no reward in the hereafter.
Correct.
Like for teaching madrasa, or giving dars, or teaching in maktab, or any deed for which you should seek reward from Allah. If you seek reward of this dunya with it, then you won't get any reward for that in the hereafter. So Rasulullah said, make sure, keep this in your mind, this sincerity, this honesty, this whatever you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu anhu, he used to teach Quran to a person, and that person once gave him a gift, a present of a whip. And he thought to himself, this is a whip, I will use it to ride my horse. But then he thought to himself, I think I should ask the Prophet ﷺ first before I take it. So he asked, and Rasulullah ﷺ said, do you wish to buy a whip from the whips of Jahannam, the fire of Jahannam? He said, no, then give it back. Rasulullah ﷺ told him that you taught him the Quran, so all that hard work you did, and in return of that you are content with this small whip, this gift. You are not looking at the gift which Allah is going to give you in the hereafter. Give it back and hope for the reward which Allah will give you in the hereafter. This is how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam shaped the form of the Sahaba, and he made their mizaj and took care of them. So this is what with regards to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give establishment and khilafat and rule to the Muslims in the earth, the good news given over here. Another hadith, Imam Muslim rahmatullah alayhi narrates from Jabir ibn Samura radiyallahu anhu, لا يزال أمر الناس ماضيا ما وليهم 12 رجلا كلهم من قريش. That the affairs of people will continue to proceed as long as 12 khulafa and successors come and govern over them, and they will all be from Quraysh. Now these 12 khulafa, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't worry, the deen will not perish. There will be 12 khulafas to come. So until 12 khulafas, your deen will survive. So it will not perish before that. In fact, in one hadith he said that I have hope that my ummah will not perish before half a day. Half a day, one day of akhirat is 1,000 years. So half a day is 500 years. So my ummah will at least last for 500 years. He had hope, he had his vision to that. So over here he said that 12 khulafas will come and they will keep control of the earth, and this deen will continue to move on. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this deen will continue to move forward until 12 khulafa will come. Now the Shias take this hadith and they say that the 12 khulafa is reference to the 12 which they name. First is Ali, then Hassan, then Hussein, and then the children of Hussein, Ali ibn al-Hussein, and Muhammad ibn Ali ibn al-Hussein, and Ja'far ibn Muhammad ibn Ali ibn al-Hussein, and then Ismail ibn Ja'far, and then Ali al-Naqi, Muhammad al-Taqi, and they mention 12 names, and then they say the 12th is Imam Abu al-Qasim al-Muntazar al-Mahdi, and he was young, and he disappeared, and he went into hiding in this cave called غَارِ سُرَّ مَنْ رَأَى. And he is there, and he will come before the day of judgment when the whole land will be filled with zulm and injustice and tyranny, and he will fill it with adl and insaf and justice. So this is their belief. Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi touches this topic over here, and he says that these 12 which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned over here are not the 12 which the Shias name, because he says that they had no control over the affairs of people. They were not khulafa. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is mentioning over here rulers, successors. Only one of them, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, was a khalifa. Others, Hassan, he only stayed for 6 months and then he handed over khilafat to Amir Muawiyah. And Hussein was not a khalifa. And his children, they were not khulafa. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is saying that they will take control. So the indication is that they will be from Quraysh, but they are not the ones which she has mentioned, because they had no control, they did not rule over the earth, and over the Khulafa is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam name mentions the rule will be in their hands. Also, Ibn Kathir rahmatullah alayhi says the Khulafa which in reality came are Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar Farooq, Usman Ghani, Ali Murtaza, and these are included in the Khulafa. And their basharat and glad tidings were given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and also by the previous books as well. So in the previous books, Abu Bakr's name is there, Umar's name is there, Usman's name is there, Ali's name is there as well. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself indicated that after me, Abu Bakr should be Khalifa. And he mentioned regarding Umar as well. And regarding Usman radiallahu anhu, he said, Usman, Allah will give you a shirt to wear, and people will attempt to take that shirt off you, so don't take it off. So Usman says that shirt was the shirt of Khilafat. When I will be given Khilafat, people will force me to demote myself and hand over Khilafat to someone else. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam indication was, when you become Khalifa, people tell you to do this, don't do it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made indication towards their Khilafat. So these are al-Khulafa al-Rashidun. That is why he said, اقتدوا بالذين من بعدي أبي بكر وعمر. He said, عليكم بسنتي وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين عضوا عليها بالنواجذ. And these are the Khulafa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They supported the deen of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the time of need. When the Murtaddeen and Mani'in Zakat rose up during the time of Umar Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, who tackled them? Who wiped their fitna away, and who established the deen and established salat and zakat and brought everything under control. So Mufti Shafi Sahib rahmatullah alayhi says, how can it be possible that you can say that what the Shias claim, that after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the Sahabas na'uzubillah they became apostate and they were murtad, and then they were all kafirs except for 4 Sahaba, and the other rest were kafir, and there was no one for 100 years. And then during the time of Imam Mahdi, he will come, and for a few days or a few weeks, months or years, he will rule. And the wa'da, promise which Allah made over here, is that wa'da of Imam Mahdi coming during the end of time. How can that be possible? You know, it's a laughable claim. And that is not true. The true scenario is what happened during the historical events. We see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established these khulafa throughout the land, and through them the deen of Allah was established, and that is correct. And this is what Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi has mentioned. He says that these 12 khulafas, they don't have to come in succession, one after the other. They can come in succession, or there could be a break in between and come after as well. So our belief is that they continuously came until Ali radiallahu anhu, and after that there were some civil wars which was started by those who murdered Sayyidina Usman Ghani radiallahu anhu. And Usman Ghani radiallahu anhu was a shaheed mazloom. Usman Ghani radiallahu anhu ruled for 12 years. Ibn Kathir rahmatullah alayhi says during those 12 years he had spread Islam throughout the globe, just as Umar radiallahu anhu did. And this was due to the barakat and of the piety of Usman Ghani radiallahu anhu. He used to recite Quran abundantly. Many times he would finish one recitation throughout the night in 2 rakats. And he was very, very generous. He used to spend a lot in the path of Allah. And he gathered the Quran and he put it in the form of this book which we see in front of us. He gave the tartib to the surahs and he spread it out throughout the globe. So due to these works done by Usman radiallahu anhu, Allah accepted his khidmat, and through him Allah spread the deen from where Umar had left. He took it on from there and spread it. So Usman radiallahu anhu was on the right path, and he was murdered after a civil war. And that civil war continued during the time of Ali radiallahu anhu. Hazrat Usman was murdered in the year 35 after Hijrah, and after 5 years Ali was murdered in the year 40 after Hijrah. And this started and this continued until the time of Shahadat Hussain, and these types of ups and downs came within the Ummah. So Ibn Kathir says that the Khilafat which was upon the Minhajun Nubuwah, Tariqah of Nubuwwat, was until Ali radiallahu anhu. After that Muawiyah became Khalifa and he became an Amir. He was a very good Amir, but at the same time he changed some things. He moved from the Minhaj and the Tariqah of Nubuwwat. He appointed his son as his successor, which was a mistake for him. That's why we say that he moved from the path of the Khulafa and the Khilafat Rashida. So he will not be included among the Khilafat Rashida. And then Khilafat moves on, and another righteous Khalifa who follows in their footsteps comes during the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, in the form of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And then other Khulafas among the Abbasiyya, there were some very just rulers and who had justice, like Harun Rashid. He was a very pious person and very God-fearing person. He ruled for 22 years. So see, these types of Khulafas came until the 12th Khalifa, there will be a big break, and the 12th Khalifa, such a just ruler, the final Khalifa will be Sayyidina Imam Mahdi rahmatullahi alayhi. Imam Mahdi rahmatullahi alayhi, when he appears, he will have the same name as that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His father's name, his mother's name will be the same as the parents of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will be an Arab. He will be from Quraysh. He will be from the descendants of Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will be a Sayyid. He will be from the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he will resemble in his looks to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. So these are some signs which indicate given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If someone claims to be a Mahdi, then first question will be asked is he Arab or non-Arab? If he is non-Arab, full stop, because Mahdi will be from Arab. If he is from Arab, second question will be is he from Quraysh or non-Quraysh? If he is from Quraysh, okay. If he is from non-Quraysh, any other tribe besides Quraysh, full stop. If he is from Quraysh, then is he from the clan of Banu Hashimi? Okay. If yes, okay. If not, from other clans of Quraysh, then he is not the Mahdi which we are waiting for. Then if he is from the clan of Quraysh, he is from the descendants of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then what is his name? If his name is Muhammad, his father is Abdullah, his mother is Amina, these are some signs given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And another main thing is that he himself will never claim to be a Khalifa. In fact, he will run away. He will not want to become Khalifa. He will be born in Medina Munawwara. He will grow up in Medina Munawwara, and he will appear at the age of 40. And what will happen is there will be a chaos throughout the globe. And Imam Mahdi, he will be also grieving and crying, looking at the state of the Ummah. People will say you should become Khalifa. I said no, I can't. It's a very hard task. It's not for me. So he will travel from Medina Munawwara, come to Makkah Mukarramah, and he will be here in front of Baytullah Sharif doing his tawaf and sa'i and umrah and hajj, and afterwards he will be sitting in Haram Sharif in front of Ka'batullah Sharif. And the Sulaha and Awliyaullah of that time who will be doing tawaf, Allah will inspire in their hearts that person Muhammad ibn Abdullah, whom you know, who's traveled from Medina, he is Imam Mahdi, he should be the Khalifa and successor. Go and give your bayat to him. So Allah will inspire into the hearts of the people, and they will approach and they will do bayat, give their bayat to him, pledge their allegiance to him in front of Ka'batullah Sharif, in between Hajar Aswad and Maqam Ibrahim. That is where the bayat will take place, and they will force him to take the bayat. So a person who claims that I am Mahdi and he is sitting in India in Qadian, then he is a liar, because Imam Mahdi will appear in Makkah Mukarramah, and these are the conditions. So that is how he will come. So when Imam Mahdi will come and he will control and he will take care of the reign of Khilafah, then he will move on. And he will gather an army and he will proceed towards the areas where the battles will take place, and there will be support coming from Khurasan and that area. These are some signs mentioned. So he will come at that time, and at that time he will be following exactly into the footsteps of Khulafai Rashideen, who were the rightful successors of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is what's been mentioned with regards to that, and the claim of Shia that these are their 12 imams which they name and are mentioned in this ayah, and the references towards them is not true in this hadith which they mentioned. Hazrat Maulana Bilal Sahab was approached by one Shia once, or someone was approached who mentioned to Maulana Bilal Sahab that Maulana Sahab, one Shia asked me, and he said, you know, in the Quran, in the 15th Sipara, there is an ayat which says that on the day of Qiyamah, people will be called there with their imams. And you don't have an imam, so who will you come with? He didn't know the ayat because Shias cannot be Hafiz of Quran. They can't memorize the whole Quran.
No.
That is throughout the 1400 years, it's an experience. And why? Because they disgraced and they humiliated the Jami' of Quran, Osman Ghani and Abu Bakr Siddiq. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed and made it so that whosoever debases and disgraces Abu Bakr and Umar, who gathered and collected the Quran, they will not be able to gather the Quran in their hearts. So they can memorize a few surahs like Qul huwallahu, Qul huwa falaq, Qul huwa bin nas, and some verses of the Quran from here and there. But with regards to the whole Quran, becoming Hafiz of the whole Quran, they can't become Hafiz of Quran. So he didn't know the verse, but I can recite the verse to you. It's in the 8th ruku of 15th Sipara, Surah Bani Israel. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yawma nad'u kulla unasim bi imamihim. فمن أوتي كتابه بيمينه فأولئك يقرؤون كتابهم ولا يظلمون فتيلا ومن كان في هذه أعمى فهو في الآخرة أعمى وأضل سبيلا. So Allah said, يوم ندعو كل أناس بإمامهم. So he said everyone will come with their imams. So the Shia said, you know, you Sunnis, you don't have imam, who will you come with? So Maulana Bilal Sahib said to him, you should have told him, we've got 2 imams in our masjid. We've got 2 imams in our masjid, we will come with our imams. You don't have imam, and who is your imam in your masjid, in your imam bara? You don't have imam, whosoever comes stands on the musalla and he leads the prayers. So maybe you might have ayatullah or so and so, something like that. Imams we have in our masjid. This is the ilzami jawab. Real jawab is that the real reply is that يَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. Over here, Allah, the tafseer of Imam mentioned by Mufassirin is A'mal Nama, the books of their deeds. Every person will be called with his book of good deeds, because his book of good deeds will be ahead of him, in front of him. And Imam is in front of you. That's why Allah used the word Imam. That this is your Imam, this is what you will have, your A'mal Nama, your book of deeds. And that is why Allah said afterwards, فَمَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَقْرَؤُونَ كِتَابَهُم وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. Whosoever is given his book in his right hand, then he will look at this book. Oh, this is my Amal Nama, Subhanallah, this is my certificate. And he will be chuffed. He will be chuffed at looking at his Amal and his good deeds. And he will be impatient to enter Jannah and go to his Jannah when he is taken over there. So may Allah make us from the people of Jannah.
Ameen.
So Allah Pak mentioned this over here. Anyhow, this is something which they mentioned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this promise and He fulfilled it. We were talking regarding, moving on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. And when He finished the ayat, He said, يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. Allah made 3 promises. Khalifa banana, or establish karna, or khawf ke bajay aman dena. And then Allah said, the condition for that is, يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. Provided that they worship me, as long as they worship me. In fact, in one hadith, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned the 12 khalifas, and in another hadith he says, لا يزال هذا الأمر في قريش ما أقاموا الدين. That this matter of ruling will stay among Quraysh as long as they establish the deen. So when they abandon the deen, then this khilafat will go away from them. So in that, Rasulullah did not mention the 12 khalifas. He just mentioned that the rulers and leaders should be from Quraysh. He mentioned that Quraysh is such a tribe who have the qualities that are necessary to govern and to rule, and the qualities of leadership needed are within Quraysh. That's why he said, Al-A'immatu min Quraysh. A'immah and leaders should be from Quraysh. And that is why when after the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ansar got together in one place and they said that we will make Khalifa and successor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr and Umar went over there and they approached them and they said, no, this can't be, you can't become Khalifa. Rasulullah said, Alayhi min Quraysh. They said, well, we have one Amir from you, one Amir from us. Umar said, Abu Bakr said, no, that can't be possible as well. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's strict instructions are that leaders should be from Quraysh. You are not Quraysh, you can't become leader. So when the debate progress moved on to such an extent of arguments and counter arguments, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu said, look, do you not see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive, and who did he put on his musalla to lead us in salat? He told Abu Bakr. And for 17 namaz, salat, Abu Bakr used to go on the musalla of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to lead us in salat. So if he chose Abu Bakr for leadership in salat, then his indication was that we should choose him for the leadership of our dunya and worldly affairs as well. And you should do bayat to him. And Abu Umar radiallahu anhu said, Ya Abu Bakr, give me your hand. I'm going to do bayat to you. And Hazrat Umar did bayat, Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah did bayat, the others did bayat, and that's how the bayat came upon the hands of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that keep this leadership within Quraysh, because they have that quality. He said in another hadith, الناس معادن كمعادن الذهب والفضة. He said, خيارهم في الجاهلية خيارهم في الإسلام إذا فقهوا. That peoples are like mines of gold, mines of silver, mines of copper, mines of steel, and mines of lead and metal and whatever. So he said people are like that. And those who were the best during the era of Jahiliyyah, they will be the best during Islam as well, as long as they have the understanding of Deen. And who were the best, who were regarded the best among the Jahiliyyah? The people of Quraysh. They had special respect in the eyes of the Arab, and special reverence in their eyes. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Quraysh were the good people in the Jahiliyyah. They were the leaders of the Arabs, and they will remain the leaders in Islam as well. So Al-A'immah min Quraysh, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ma aqamud deen, as long as they established deen. And when we look at the history from Khulafai Rashideen, Muawiyah, his children, and then Marwan, and all these Khulafai Banu Umayyah until 125, and then Khulafai Abbasiyah until another 300 years, until the 4th century. All this time, any ruler which is coming is from the Qabila of Quraysh. And after that, when the last rulers of the Abbasid dynasty went far away from Deen, they abandoned Salat and they indulged in things which they should not have indulged in, then Khilafat was taken away from them. And then the Suljukis came, and then the Tataris came, and then Khilafat Osmaniyya, and the Khilafat Osmaniyya remained for another 800 years until 100 years ago. And from then on, now there are 22 different countries within the Arabian Peninsula, and each country has a different ruler. So this is how things turned around. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives the instruction that as long as Quraysh established Deen, then Khilafat will remain among them. That was what's mentioned by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is what's mentioned over here. Provided they worship me, ya'budunani wa la yushrikuna bi shay'a. Ibn Kathir rahmatullah alayhi mentioned over here one hadith regarding ibadah, narrated by Imam Muslim rahmatullah alayhi, from Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu, that I was sitting behind Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam on a ride, and he said to me, Ya Muaz, and I said, Labbayk ya Rasulullah wa Sa'day. And after a while he again said, Ya Muaz ibn Jabal, and I said, Labbayk ya Rasulullah wa Sa'day. And then after a while he said again for the third time, Ya Muaz ibn Jabal. I said, Labbayk ya Rasulullah. Even though I was sitting on his back, behind him on a horse or on a donkey, there was not a big gap between us. But 3 times he brought my attention until I was focused on what he was about to say. And then he said, Ya Muaz ibn Jabal, أَتَدْرِي مَا حَقُّ اللَّهِ عَلَىٰ عِبَادِهِ? Do you know what is the haqq and right of Allah over His servants? And he replies, I said, Allahu wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Rasul know better. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّ حَقَّ اللَّهِ عَلَىٰ عِبَادِهِ أَن يَعْبُدُوهُ وَلَا يُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Allah's right over His servants is that they worship Him and they associate not with Him. Then he said, Ya Mu'az ibn Jabal. And he again said, Labbaik ya Rasulullah wa Sa'di. And he replied, أَتَدْرِي مَا حَقُّ الْعِبَادِ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِذَا فَعَلُوا ذَلِكَ? Do you know what is the right of the servants upon Allah when they do this? And he replied, Allahu wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Rasul know best. And he said, Allah yu'adhibahum. That Allah does not punish them. That when they worship, then their right upon Allah is that Allah does not punish them. He mentioned both rights. Allah's right upon the servant and the servant's right upon Allah. So when you do that, you fulfill your responsibility, Allah will fulfill His responsibility. Once Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is riding on a camel, one Bedouin approaches and he gets hold of the rope of the camel of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and holds it back. And then he said, Ya Rasulullah, dullani ala amalin yuqarribuni min al-jannah wa yubaiduni anil nar. Oh Allah, Ya Rasulullah, guide me towards an action, a deed which can bring me closer to Jannah and distance me and take me further away from Jahannam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam liked his question. And he looked around the Sahaba, saying, did you hear the question? This is the question you should be asking. Even today, when we have a question answer session, people ask about insurance, mortgage, talaq, this, that. They don't have any other questions. We feel that their attempt is to somehow make these things halal. That this should be halal and that should be halal and that should be halal. These types of questions come. Nobody comes with some good question. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam admired the question. That look at this question. This person is fearful and he is worrying about his akhirah. Tell me something which can bring me closer to Jannah and take me away from Jahannam. So he looked around the Sahaba and then he said to the Bedouin, repeat your question. Say it again. And he repeated the question. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, تعبد الله ولا تشرك به شيئا وتقيم الصلاة المكتوبة وتؤدي الزكاة المفروضة وتصل الرحم دع الناقة. He said that amal which will take you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you associate not with Him, and you establish the salat which is prescribed upon you, and you pay that poor due and zakat which has been fixed upon you. And another third thing he mentioned was that you join your kinship, you be nice and kind to your relatives. And then he said, let go of my camel so I can move forward. This was during Hajjatul Wada, when he was moving from Mina to Arafat or Muzdalifah. That is when someone approached and asked the question. He gave the reply immediately and then he proceeded, moved forward. So this is what Allah is mentioning. يَعْبُدُونَنِي. You do my ibadat. And the more ibadat you do, the more closer you will bring yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more closer you are to Allah, the more He is pleased with you, then the more He will raise your rank in His eyes, in this dunya and in the hereafter. So this is why Allah said, Allah will give you these three things, provided people worship me and they associate not with me. And وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. Whosoever is ungrateful after this, then they are the transgressors. Kafara yakfuru kufranan. Lughwi and literal meaning of kafara is nashukri karna, to be ungrateful, to be unthankful, to not show any gratitude. This is kufran, and it's used in many places like yakfurna al-ashir, takfurna al-ashir. So kufran means to show ungratitude. This is the literal meaning. And istilahi meaning, the terminology of Shariat is that kafara yakfuru kufran means to deny, to reject those things which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has brought from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the opposite of iman. Iman is to believe in everything Rasulullah brought from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and kufr is to deny the things that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So over here, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ, you could take both meanings into consideration. If we take the first meaning, then the translation will be that when Allah Pak gives these three bounties mentioned above, then whosoever is ungrateful after these blessings of Allah, then he will be classed as a fasiq, as a transgressor. And second meaning is human kafara, whosoever rejects, denies, becomes kafir after this, then he will be a fasiq and transgressor. Over here, Hazrat Mufti Shafi Sahab Rahmatullahi alayhi narrates in Ma'arif al-Quran on the authority of Imam Baghawi's tafsir, that he says that the first people to do this woman kafara and do this kufran and kufr are those who murdered Sayyidina Usman radiallahu anhu. Because Allah had established the Khilafah up to then, and they should have shown gratitude to Allah, but they were ungrateful, and they committed this heinous crime of murdering the ruler of Muslimin, the Amirul Mu'mineen. So that is the first instance when this kufran in ni'mat and this kufr was committed. And after that, they engaged in this infighting and civil war. Because Usman radiallahu anhu was the first Khalifa to be murdered by Muslims. Umar radiallahu anhu was murdered by a non-Muslim. There was no infighting at that time. But over here there was some infighting, some propagandas against Usman radiallahu anhu, and Sayyidina Usman radiallahu anhu was murdered by the Baghis and the rebels, and this is when the infighting started. And then it prevailed during the time of Ali, and it continues till today. We see in areas of in that area, Pakistan and surroundings, where Muslim brother is fighting with Muslim brother. This has continued since that time. There have been ups and downs of this type throughout the history. Imam Baghawi also narrates over here the khutbah and the speech given by Abdullah ibn Salam radiallahu anhu, when the rebels had surrounded the house of Sayyidina Usman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, and they were shouting, screaming aloud, and there was great risk that people are going to murder Usman radiallahu anhu, and the threat was there, and people had realized something bad is going to happen. So people came to offer their support. Ali came to offer his support. Talha, Zubair came to offer their support. Abdullah ibn Salam also came. And Abdullah ibn Salam then gave a speech to the rebels who were standing outside. And he told them, Baghawi narrates, he said to them, Allah के फरिश्ते तुम्हारे शहर के इर्द गिर्द इहाते किए हुए हिफाजत में उस वक्त से मशगूल थे जब से कि रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम मदीना तशरीफ फरमा हुए, और आज तक ये सिलसिला जारी था। खुदा की कसम, अगर तुमने उस्मान को कत्ल किया तो ये फरिश्ते वापस चले जाएंगे और फिर कभी न लौटेंगे. That the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were surrounding the city of Medina Munawwara since the day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam entered the city of Medina Munawwara. They have been surrounding the city of Medina Munawwara, protecting it till today. By Allah, if you were to murder Usman, then those farishtas or those malaika who were protecting you from your enemies of Medina Munawwara, they will return and they will never come back again after that if you murder Usman. He went on to say, खुदा की कसम तुम में से जो उनको कत्ल करेगा वो अल्लाह के सामने कटे हुए हाथ के साथ हाजिर होगा. Allah, by Allah, whosoever kills Usman, then remember he will come to Allah on the day of Qiyamah in such a state that his hands will be chopped off when he will be presented before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is in the hadith as well. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if a person kills a Muslim person, then that maqtul will come on the day of Qiyamah, and his veins will be gushing blood will be gushing from there. And he will bring that qatil who will be disgraced and humiliated, and he will hold him by his hair of his peshani and forehead, and he will present him to Allah, and he will say, Ya Allah, this is my qatil, this is the person who killed me. Ask him, why did he kill me? What did I do wrong? Why did he murder me? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say that he has no excuse, throw him into Jahannam, and he will be flung into the fire of Jahannam. So Abdullah ibn Salam said this over here, that why are you attempting to murder Usman? He moved on to say, समझ लो कि अल्लाह की तलवार अब तक मयान में थी, खुदा की कसम अगर वो तलवार मयान से निकल आई तो फिर कभी भी मयान में न जाएगी. He said, the sword of Allah has been in its sheath up to now. If the sword of Allah comes out of that sheath, it will never go back in, and it will remain till the day of Qiyamah. So don't draw this sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon yourselves. अब्दुल्लाह इब्न सलाम ने तो से, क्योंकि जब कोई नबी कत्ल किया जाता है तो उसके बदले में 70,000 आदमी मारे जाते हैं, और जब कोई खलीफा कत्ल किया जाता है तो 35,000 आदमी मारे जाते हैं. Because when a prophet, a messenger is murdered, then for one messenger, 70,000 people are killed. And if one Khalifa is murdered, then for one Khalifa, 35,000 people will be murdered. And this will continue to move on, and this will keep happening. So this is the khutbah given. And Mufti Shafi Sahab says, चुनांचे जो उस्मान रदी अल्लाह अन्हु से अंदरूनी लड़ाई शुरू हुई थी वो चलती रही और चलती रहती है. जैसे कातिलीन उस्मान ने इस्तिखलाफ और इस्तिहकाम दीन के बाद नाशुक्री की थी, तो उनके बाद रवाफिज खवारिज ने खुलफाए राशिदीन की मुखालफत में गिरोह बना लिए और इसी सिलसिले में शहादत हुसैन का सानिहा भी पेश आया. That this kept on happening, and during the time of Ali radiallahu anhu, Muslims fought among themselves, and thousands of Muslims were murdered because of that infighting. This started from there. This is all due to man kafara ba'da dhalik fa ulaika humul fasiqun. When Allah gives you that establishment, you should be grateful, thankful. If you are ungrateful, if you deny the favors of Allah, then you will be classed as transgressors. These were the people who were transgressors, and whosoever follows in their footsteps in the form of Rawafiz and Khawarij, they will be classed as the transgressors. So when this يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا reduced, then this khilafat and istihkam and tamkeen and establishment in the land also reduced. So sometimes it came, other times it went. Sometimes it came, other times it went. So the force by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spread the Islam throughout the globe, the brakes were put on after that, and then sometimes it moved, sometimes stopped, sometimes moved, sometimes stopped. That is what happened, and that's what happening until today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of the whole ummah. So this is what Allah Pak is mentioning over here. Then Allah Pak goes on to say, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Establish salat and give zakat. وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ. Obey the messenger. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. So that you may be shown mercy. This verse is very clear, doesn't need any explanation. لَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Allah is addressing His Prophet. He is saying, O Prophet, do not think that the disbelievers who deny have escaped from us in the land. Nobody can run away. If you hide in the deepest cellar, in the deepest cave, in some island somewhere, you can't escape from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's watchful eyes are over the heavens, the skies, and the earth, and the ocean, and the globe, and everywhere. You can't run away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't let them think that you can harm the deen of Allah and then run away. Well, you have to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have nowhere to go. If you disbelieve, if you deny, if you reject, and if you think you're going to disable Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're going to overpower Him, then that is shaitani waswasa and khayal. Get rid of it. Allah is saying, وَمَأْوَاهُمُ النَّارِ وَلَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. Those disbelievers and deniers who think that their abode will be Jahannam, and it is an evil place of returning and evil terminus. May Allah protect us from the fire of Jahannam. Ruku finish ho gaya. Aage ya ayyuhalladhina amanu yasta'zinkum alladhina malakat.
MashaAllah.